Hi, welcome back again to our video today. Last time, we discussed the lesson 1 which talks about the 1987 Constitution, specifically the Article 14 which talks about or which has 5 aspects: the education, science and technology, arts, culture, and then the sports. So for today's video, we will going to cover the lesson 2 which talks about the rights and privileges of a certain public teacher who's working in a public school. So without further much ado, let's get started. So, this lesson is all about the Republic Act 4670, or known as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. But before anything else, before we will going to proceed to the main discussion or main body of this video, let's define first what does a Magna Carta mean about. So, it is stated here, it is a document constituting a fundamental guarantee of rights and privileges. Meaning to say, it's a written document po na kung saan nakasulat or nakapaloob po dito those rights and privileges na meron ng isang guro na nagtuturo sa public schools. So it consists of 7 parts which has 34 sections in total, and the first part is the Declaration of Policy which consists of 2 sections. So the first section, it is hereby declared to be the policy of this act to promote and improve the social and economic status of public school teachers. So that means this act was being made and declared to promote and improve the social and economic status of public school teachers. So this is really important for teachers kasi nga being a teacher in public school is not really an easy job, right? So to value their perseverance and their hard work, this law was made para din matulungan sila to improve their social and economic status. So this is really important for the government na bigyan ang ating mga guro ng ganitong batas kasi educator really played a very significant role sa pagpapaunlad ng ekonomiya ng ating bansa. Right? Without them, there will be no other professions existed. Walang doktor, walang abogado, walang engineer kung wala ang teacher. Kasi teachers are really the one who equip the student in his future profession. That is why this law was given to help educators in public school para ma-enhance naman yung status nila. So, the second section is the title definition or the definition of the title. So, this act shall be known as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. Yan po yung title ng act na ito. And shall apply to all public school teachers except those in professorial staff of the state universities and colleges. So, as used in this act, the term teacher shall mean all persons engaged in classroom teaching in any level of instructions on full-time basis, including guidance counselors, school librarians, instructors, and all other persons performing supervisory operated by the government or its political subdivisions, but shall not include school nurses, school physicians, school dentists, and other school employees. So meaning to say, this law was entitled as the Magna Carta for those only teachers who teach in public schools. And we must remember its scope, only the limits in those public teacher lang po that are involved in classroom supervisory. Kasi nga, the term teacher here refer to those teachers na involved in classroom teaching, such as those are subject teachers, our advisor, our guidance counselors, our librarians, and other teacher na nagsusupervise sa mga mag-aaral. Hindi po kasali dito yung school nurses, physician, and school dentist kasi po iba na po yung sa kanila.
Article 2 is recruitment and career section. Sa section 3 is what we call recruitment and qualifications. Kapag ikaw ay teacher at gusto mo mag-apply sa public, ito po yung mga qualification na kailangan natin. For the teachers in the kinder and elementary, you should be a bachelor degree in elementary education. So sa elementary lang po kayo magtuturo. And for the teachers in secondary schools, kayo po ay dapat mayroong degree in education, majoring in English, Filipino, Science, AP, and PE or Physical Education. Kapag yan po ay major ninyo, pwede po kayong mag-apply sa secondary. Pwede din po kayong magturo sa elementary. Now, kung kayo po ay mayroong bachelor's degree, pero hindi naman po siya education, pwede pa rin po kayong mag-apply as a public school teacher. For example, you are a degree holder of Bachelor in Arts, pwede po kayong magturo sa public as long as maka-attain po kayo or nakakuha po kayo ng at least 18 professional units in education. For example, kayo po ay isang nurse. Gusto nyo pong magturo sa public. So, dapat po ay mag-enroll po kayo ng 18 units na subject ng education. And then, after po nun, pwede na po kayo mag-apply as a public school teacher. For teachers of the secondary, vocational, and 2-year technical courses, pwede po kayo mag-apply yung may nasa degree holder po wherein nasa field of specialization po kayo. And for teachers, of course, on the collegiate level and other than vocational master's degree with specific area of specialization, pwede din po kayo mag-apply. So, wala pong hinahadlangan sa pag-a-apply bilang isang teacher as long as qualify o meron po kayong qualification na hinihingi ng Department of Education. Doon naman po sa pag-a-apply po ninyo sa public school teacher, meron po siyang steps. So first po is you need to pass yung mga application na kailangan ipasa, and then after po nun ay yung demo teaching. After po ng demo teaching is the interview. Then after po ng interview ay yung EPT o English Proficiency Test. Now doon po sa lahat na steps o procedure na ginawa ninyo, meron pointing system po yon. At kapag na-meet nyo po yung minimum education qualification na makakakuha po kayo ng appointment, yun po yung wherein magkakaroon na po kayo ng assignment kung saang school po kayo magtuturo at magkakaroon na po kayo ng item. Yung item po na yun po yung position nyo as a teacher sa public school. Kung hindi naman makakuha, meron po kayong temporary status. Yun po yung mga temporary status ay binibigay doon po sa mga applicants. Sa section 4 naman po is what we call the probationary period. Katulad po ng sinabi ko kanina doon sa hindi nakamit sa qualification na hinihingi ng Department of Education, sila po yung may mga temporary position. Kaya ang tawag po sa kanila is not permanent. Kapag hindi po kayo or nasa temporary lang po kayo, bibigyan po kayo ng chance to attend seminars, training and other activities na makakapag-achieve sa inyo doon sa mga kulang nyo sa qualification. And then kapag ganun po, pwede na po kayong ma-absorb kagaya ng nangyari sa ibang mga teacher na natanggap. Natanggap po sila as a teacher sa public, pero hindi po sila nabigyan kaagad ng item. So ang nangyari po ay municipality po ang nagpapasahod sa kanila, hindi po ang Department of Education. And then after 1 year, saka lang po sila na-absorb and then nagkaroon ng item. So sila na po yung matatawag nating na permanent teachers. Section 5, Tenure of Office. Stability on employment and security of tenure shall assure the teachers as provided under existing laws. Kapag halimbawa po magkaroon po kayo ng problema or magkaroon po kayo ng charges, hindi po kayo basta-basta matatanggal dahil po doon sa tinatawag nating tenure of office. So kung halimbawa naman po na kayo ay nakapag-rendered at least 10 years of continuous efficient and faithful in such position, kung meron po kayo, you will be given a security of tenureship. Dahil po sa Section 5 na ito, hindi po kayo basta-basta mati-terminate sa inyong trabaho as a public school teacher. Next po ay Section 6, Consent for Transfer Transportation Expenses. So for example, kayo po ay nasa isang school at yung principal nyo po o yung isang co-teacher nyo po ay hindi nagustuhan ang inyong performance at gusto nila kayong ilipat sa ibang school, ay hindi po yun pwede. Kasi katulad po ng nakasulat dito, expect for cost and as herein otherwise no teacher shall be transferred without his consent from one station to another. So kung sakasakali po na ililipat kayo, dapat po ay alam po ninyo at pumapayag po kayong ilipat kayo. Ngayon po, kung halimbawa man po ay galing sa Department of Education, sa mga superintendents, supervisors po, ay gusto kayong ilipat, mayroong karampatang kadahilanan para kayo ay umalis sa eskwelahan ninyo, pwede po kayong umalis. Ngayon po, kapag umalis po kayo, yung traveling expenses nyo po ay yung traveling expenses nyo po sa paglipat ng other school ay sagot naman po ng government. And then, if ever man po na hindi nyo gusto or sa tingin nyo po hindi tama na ilipat kayo ng inyong supervisor, pwede po kayong mag-appeal sa Director of Public School or Director of Vocational Education as the case may be. And then, if ever po na willing po kayong lumipat ng school at nagkataon po na magkakaroon po ng local or national election, within 3 months, hindi po kayo papayagan ng DepEd na lumipat. Kasi po, kapag election teachers po ang namamahala sa mga botohan para maiwasan po yung mga issues ng mga biases. Hindi pinapayagan ang mga teacher na lumipat 3 months before local or national election. And then if ever man po na malipat kayo sa ibang locality or ibang barangay, town or cities, pwede po kayong mag-request sa Department of Education na magpa-transfer, and then transfer expenses of the teacher and his or her family shall be paid by the government if his transfer is finally approved. Section 7, the Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers. Within 6 months from the approval of this act, the Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare a Code of Professional Conduct for public school teachers. A copy of code shall be furnished each teacher. So ito po ay makikita po natin at binibigay sa mga teachers. Pwede po ito makita sa principal's office o sa head teacher para if ever man na kailangan ng teacher, meron po silang mababasa na Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers.
So, Section 8, Safeguard and Disciplinary Procedures. So, every teacher shall enjoy equitable safeguard at each stage of any disciplinary procedure and shall have, the first one is the right to full access to the evidence in the case. So, ang karapatang paalam sa pamamagitan ng pagsulat ng mga singil. So, the second one is the right to full access to the evidence in the case. So, ang karapatang sa ganap na pag-access or pag-alangkat ng ebidensya sa kaso. So, third one is the right to defend himself and to be defended by a representative of his choice or by his organization, adequate time being given to the teacher for the preparation for his defense. So, ang karapatang ipagtanggol ang kanyang sarili at ipagtanggol ng isang kinatawan ng kanyang pinili o ang kanyang organisasyon. Sapat na oras na ibinigay sa guro sa paghahanda ng kanyang pagtatanggol sa kanyang sarili. So, the last one is the right to appeal to clearly designated authorities. So, the right to appeal to clearly designated authorities. So, ang karapatang mag-apela sa malinaw na itinalagang otoridad. Section 9, Administrative Charge. So, administrative charges against a teacher shall be heard initially by a committee composed of the corresponding school superintendent of the division or a duly authorized representative who should at least have the rank of a division supervisor. So, the committee shall submit its findings and recommendations to the director of public schools within 30 days from the termination of the hearing, provided, however, so that where the school superintendent is the complainant or appointed by the Secretary of Education. So in this section, they shall not take cognizance of complaints involving their respective personnel. Their decisions shall be final in case the penalty imposed in suspension for not more than 30 days or fining an amount not exceeding 30 days salary. So, Section 10, no discrimination. So, there shall be no discrimination whatsoever in entrance to the teaching profession or during its exercise or in determination of services based other than professional consideration. So, hindi dapat magkaroon ng anumang diskriminasyon sa pagpasok sa propesyon ng pagtuturo o sa panahon ng pagsasanay nito o sa pagwawakas ng mga serbisyo batay sa iba maliban sa professional na konsiderasyon. So, Section 11, Married Teachers. So, whenever possible, the proper authorities shall take all steps to enable married couples, both of whom are public school teachers, to be employed in the same locality. So, ang pinapahiwatig ng section na ito is if the married couples are both teachers, they should working in the same place, in the same locality, employed in the same locality. The last section is the academic freedom. So, teachers shall enjoy academic freedom in discharge of their professional duties, particularly with regard to teaching and classroom methods. So, in this section means ang kalayaan pang akademiko, ang kalayaan ng mga guro at mag-aaral na mag-aral at magsasagawa ng kaalaman at pagsasaliksik ng walang hindi makatwiran, panghihimasok o paghihigpit mula sa batas, mga regulasyong institusyonal o paggigipit ng publiko.
Section 17, Equity in Salary Scales. The salary scales of teachers whose salaries appreciated by city, municipal district, or provincial government shall not be less than those provided for teacher of national government. In Section 17, stated that the salary scale of teachers na ang sahod o sweldo ay naaangkop sa municipal o municipal district o provincial government ay hindi bababa sa binigay ng national government para sa mga guro. Their salary also based on the rank and length of time in their working. Section 18, Cost of Living Allowance. The Secretary of Education shall consultation with the proper government entitles recommended to Congress at least annually the appreciation of the necessary funds for the cost of living allowances of teachers employed by national government. In Section 18, Cost of Living Allowance for Teachers, ang paglalaan ng pundo para sa gastos sa pang-araw-araw ng guro sa ilalim ng national government. Paglaan ng pundo para sa cost of living ng guro taon-taon para sa mga gurong empleyado ng national government. Section 19, Special Hardship Allowances. In areas in which teachers are exposed to hardship, such as difficulty in community to the place of work or other hazard, particular to the place of employment, as determined by the Secretary of Education, they shall be compensated specially hardship allowance, equivalent to at least 25% of their monthly salary. For those teachers who are impaired to the travel on their workplace and other hazard to their place for employment, the Secretary of Education that they shall receive hardship allowance na katumbas ng 25% ng isang buwang sweldo. Section 20, Salary to be paid in legal teachers. Salaries of teachers shall be paid in legal tender of the Philippines or its equivalent in check or treasury warrant provided. However, that such as check or treasury warrant shall be cashable in any national, provincial, city, or municipal treasury office or any banking institution operating under the law of the Republic of the Philippines. Ang sweldo ng guro ay maaaring bayaran sa legal na pamamaraan ng Pilipinas o sa pamagitan ng tseke. Ang mga tseke na may katumbas ng sweldo ay maaari lamang ipagpalit sa national, provincial, city o municipal treasuries office sa ilalim ng batas ng Republika ng Pilipinas. Section 21. Deduction prohibited. No person shall make any deduction whatever from the salaries of teachers, except under respectfully authority of law of authorizing such deduction, provided however that upon the written authority executed for the teachers concerned, lawful dues and fees owing to the Philippines Public School Teachers Associated and premium properly due on insurance policy shall be considered deductible. Walang sinuman ang maaaring bumawas sa sweldo ng mga guro maliban sa mga otoridad. Ang mga maaari lamang bumawas ng sweldo ay ang mga lawful dues and fees or loan and insurance policies.
So, leave and retirement benefits. So, Section 24, study leave, they shall be entitled to the study leave not exceeding 1 year after 7 years of service. Such leave shall be granted in accordance with a schedule set by the Department of Education. During the period of such leave, the teachers shall be entitled to at least 60% of their monthly salary. So, Section 24 study leave is talk about the teacher who leaves for her or his study, but they request study leave if they reach out 7 years in service. With 1 year, they are free to leave and their salary is continued. However, more than this given year, their salary will not be continued. So the second is Section 25, indefinite leave. So, an indefinite sick leave of absence shall be granted to teachers when the nature of the illness demands a long treatment that will exist 1 year at the least. So, indefinite leaves, this is applied to the teacher that has a serious illness or disease that needs to undergo special treatment by the medical team. So and then the section 26 salary increase upon retirement. So public school teacher having fulfilled the age and service requirements of the applicable retirement laws shall be given one range salary raise up up retirement, which shall be the basic of the computation of the lump sum of the retirement pay and the monthly benefits thereafter. So salary increase upon retirement. So if they at a teacher fulfilled the year given or the service given, then they will enjoy their salary increase upon retirements.
Teachers organization, and under the teachers organization is the section 27, freedom to organize, and it states that public school teachers shall have the right to freely and without previous authorization both to establish and to join organizations of the choosing, whether local or national, to further and defend their interests. So for example, the common organization na sikat is we have the Philippine Association for Teachers and Educators, also known as PAFTE. Sa organization na ito is meron silang seminars, workshop, trainings, and conferences. So this type of organization could be a best way for teachers and future educators to have a professional development. Then, in section 27, it means that it is the right of the teacher to organize or a teacher to establish a certain organization that protects right of a teacher and to join an organization that protects his right. And the teacher as also have the freedom to organize a movement that would defend the interests of the majority of the teachers. The teachers are not blocked from joining organization or establishing organizations that are essential in protecting the rights of the interests of the teachers. And then section 28, discrimination against teachers are prohibited. It states that it shall be unlawful for any person to commit any acts of discrimination against teachers which are calculated to A, make the employment of a teacher subject to the condition that he shall not join an organization or shall relinquish membership in an organization. So I wanted to share this type of situation wherein mali talaga yung ginawa ng isang principal o supervisor nung time na yon na nag-a-apply ang isang teacher sa school nila dahil maliit lang yung height ng teacher, then and sinabihan yung supervisor, sinabihan niya yung teacher na nag-apply na, are you sure na kaya mong mag-teach ng estudyante sa liit niyan? You know what, sa ginawa ng supervisor na yun is a no-no talaga dahil it's a discrimination against a teacher which is prohibited. And for the teacher, she have the right to protect himself for that kind of discrimination. Pwede niyang kasuhan yung supervisor na yon. And B, to cause the dismissal of or otherwise prejudice a teacher by reason of his membership is an organization or because of participation in organization activities outside school hours or with the consent to the proper school authorities within school hours, and C, to prevent him from carrying out the duties laid upon him by his position in organization or to penalize him for an action undertaken in the capacity. So, kasi once you are a teacher, the first priority talaga is yung estudyante and the teaching. So, we need to ask some consent from the proper authorities, lalo na pag yung meeting or activity ay within school hours. And Section 29, this National Teachers Organization, state that National Teachers Organization shall be consulted in the formulation of national educational policies and professional standards, and in the formulation of national policies governing the social security of the teachers. It means that the teachers has the right to join organizations to protect the rights and the standards of the teaching profession, as well as to craft policies that would in one way or another to protect students' welfare. Then pangit naman talaga kung ang sinalihan ng teacher na organization is hindi nagpa-follow sa national policies, because they know that teachers, as they are, na nasa code of ethics na po, ay dapat sila ang nangunguna sa pagsunod ng mga o pag-follow ng mga rules. And that's it for the teachers organization.
So, let's move on to the last article of this Republic Act, which is the administration and enforcement. So, it consists of the last 4 sections or 5 sections, which is the section 30, 31, 32, 33, and then the 34. So, let's start with the section 30, which is rules and regulations. So, the Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare the necessary rules and regulations to implement the provisions of this Act. Rules and regulations issued pursuant to this section shall take effect 30 days after publication in a newspaper of general circulation and by such other means as the Secretary of Education deems reasonably sufficient to give interested parties general notice of such issuance. So that means the Secretary of Education should formulate and prepare all the rules and regulations that are necessary in implementing the provision of this Act. And these rules and regulations na i-impose ng Secretary of Education will be effective after pa po ng isang buwan or equivalent to 30 days after na isa publiko ang nasabing rules and regulations. So let's proceed to section 31, which is the budgetary estimates. So the Secretary of Education shall submit to Congress annually the necessary budgetary estimates to implement the provisions of this Act concerning the benefits herein granted to public school teachers under the employ of the national government. So the Secretary of Education also are obliged to submit annually, that means kaisa sa isang taon, ng necessary estimated budgetary sa Congress para po sa pagpapa-implement ng provision of this Act. So, the Section 32, which is the penal provision, a person who shall willfully interfere with, restrain or coerce any teacher in the exercise of his rights guaranteed by this Act, or who shall in any other manner commit any act to defeat any of the provisions of this Act shall upon conviction be punished by a fine of not less than 100 pesos nor more than 1,000 pesos or by imprisonment in the discretion of the court. So, ang sino mang may intensyon na to hampered or humadlang sa mga rights ng teacher na nasabi sa act na ito ay mabibigyan po ng parusa by a fine of hindi bababa sa 100 pesos or even more than 1,000 pesos or either makukulong po according to the discretion of the court. Then, we have the section 33, which is repealing clause. All acts or parts of acts, executive orders, and their implementing rules inconsistent with the provision of this Act are hereby repealed, amended, or modified accordingly. So, anumang parts of this Act or even ang pag-i-implement ng mga rules under dito that are inconsistent with the provisions of this Republic Act ay mawawalang bisa or mapapasawalang bisa po at di po kaya subject to modification. So, Section 34, which is the separability clause. If any provision of this Act is declared invalid, the remainder of this Act or any provisions not affected thereby shall remain in force and in effect. So, if ever some parts of the provision of this Act is declared as invalid, hindi po maaapektuhan ang remaining provisions of this Act. They will still remain in force and in effect. So, that is the title separability clause kasi separate po yun sila. And then, lastly, the last section that we have is this Act shall take effect upon its approval. So, this Section 25 or this act will take effect upon its approval pa po. And eventually, this said Republic Act was already been approved on May 19, 1966. So let's move on to the summary of this whole discussion. So the Republic Act number 4670, or other known as the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, was made to enhance, protect, and promote the welfare of all teachers, especially who's in public school or in their work profession. So education is a vital factor in driving towards developed economy. Thus, it is very crucial that all teachers must be valued highly as the doctors and other most valued profession. So in such act like this Magna Carta is very vital in achieving that goal possible. So that ends our discussion for today. We hope you gain something and you will be you grasp all the entire discussion that we gave to you today. So goodbye and God bless.